All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Virtual Study Groups for what is today? November 24th, 2020.
Number 14.
This is number 14?
Seriously.
Wow.
It's 14 weeks, man.
Never would have thought
That's
that.
a season, if you think about it. I don't know. Not your season. Your season's like 18 weeks, but.
Okay, yes. Moving on. Appreciate everyone as usual. Thanks for coming out. This is Thanksgiving week. Hopefully everyone has a good holiday week with their family, wherever you may be in the universe. Today we have also a mix of different play concepts to talk about. Your umpires who like to say we don't show you any love. We got some second level block action to look at today. We also are going to do a little DPI category type things. Without further ado, let's just get started. Brandon,
let's go. Get started. All right. Bunch of polls to start. We put this play in the huddle. If you're not familiar with the huddle, ask and we'll get you hooked up. So we're going to have some polls. Just watch the play. It's really a nothing play. I mean, you know, there's not a whole lot going on, but we can use this play as a platform, which we so often like to do, to just basically test some of our processing elements. So everybody's going to be able to chime in, get in on the chat. We'll start the poll. So the first question, just visual mechanics. So who's going to see that contact? You know, the linebacker sticks his arm out. It's a little hook action, the running back out of the backfield. So who's going to see that contact right about at the 5-yard line? Here comes the poll now. Okay, so kind of an interesting play. How many times do you see the running back go up the field and get the ball thrown to him in the middle of the field like that? Not a whole lot. So interesting coverage-wise. And so we have a couple options. We have 6 options. There's some combination of the line of scrimmage official, the deep wing, and the back judge, or 2 of them. I don't think all 3 should see that. What do you think, Tutai? Do you think all 3 would ever see something like that early in the play? We didn't even give that as an option.
Well, I'm not quite there yet because I'm still processing how you said this is a nothing play, and we have potential foul at the 5-yard line. We have potential targeting on the hit, and then we have potential catch, no catch, and potential interception. So there's a whole lot going on this play that we all have to really.
Well, nothing happened. Nothing happened, Tutai. Okay.
I know, but okay. All right.
I said that.
I know you did because you're Mr. Results. You're results oriented.
That's me. You know me. Good. All right. So this is going to be interesting. So I'll end the poll and then we'll let Corey do his advanced statistics with all these different combinations. There may be 1 or 2 votes coming in. I'm sorry if that was too fast, but we'll get a lot of chances to look at the play and we can discuss this. So Corey, what are you seeing from the results of this poll?
It looks like 99% of people have the line of scrimmage at some point being involved with it. So.
Okay. All right. So we got that covered. So if you're a line of scrimmage official working on the bottom of the screen here, we want you on this safe. Is that safe to say?
That would be safe to say, yes.
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Now what about – so we've got really good perspectives from the other positions. Let's start with deep wing. What do you think, Corey? You think the deep wing would get to this?
Well, I do, just because that bottom deep wing, I mean, you're going to have that tight end, obviously. I mean, you may transition to it. It's not going to be – yeah, that's tough. I mean, 87 release is pretty clean, so you might be able to get a peek at it, but you're probably not going to see the whole thing, so you'd be guessing. So, yeah, I don't think I'd get a good look at that at all.
You know, regardless what was I going to say? Never mind. I'll withhold that comment for later. And then I know. So Daniel's on. What about the back judge? A lot of us are saying the back judge could help with this. Let's look at the formation and break that down, Daniel.
Yeah, I think I think the challenge for the back judge is the same challenge that Corey talked about for the deep wing, is that it's just so early in the evolution of the play. Probably not going to swing all the way over across the formation by the time the back's to the 5-yard line. We've got trips up here to the top. Nice cushion, you'll see, but with 23 is a little bit of a threat. We're probably looking at number 2 and 3 receiver. And the way that number 3 comes off towards us, that's just going to grab our attention before we're able to swing over. We probably really won't even get over to 22 until the ball's in the air and we can help with the, potential targeting and catch, no catch, non-events, as we've discussed.
Non-events. So perfect. So what the moral of the story, I think, here is that crew of 7, crew of 8, crew of 4, 3, whatever, we just need to have support at the line of scrimmage position in the passing game. I think we've said that before. We've said that quite a bit. But, this is no different, guys, than what we do on our various crews or throughout the various years that we've all worked together. I call it a nothing play because from a results perspective, you're watching this game at, okay, that was interesting. Catch, no catch. Oh, was it targeting? No. Oh, okay, whatever. It's really a nothing play from the result of impacting the game. But these are the exact kind of plays we want to break down because, if we do see this potential for the hook in the middle of the field at the 5-yard line, we just want to make sure we're solid on our coverages, All right. So same play. So let's stay with the same play and go to the next aspect of this, which is now, look, we're going to assume that hook is a foul. Okay. We're not even talking about whether it is or it isn't, because it really, how we do this. It's not that important to us. What we just talked about the visual mechanics, and so obviously we prioritize that way more than we prioritize snap, in the moment judgment. But let's just assume, for the sake of argument, that when the linebacker hooks with that arm, attempts to hooks, whatever, that it is material restriction for a foul. Okay. So what would we call that? I mean, would we call that holding, defensive holding? Would we call that defensive pass interference? Or would we go both? And
can I ask a clarifying question to screw up the polls?
Sure.
Are we asking, would we enforce both? Is that what we're asking?
Well, I think I'm more thinking about, we can talk about that. I was more thinking about, and you got the flag, so you're going to report to the referee, what are you calling? What are you telling the referee?
Okay, gotcha.
So whatever you tell the referee, you've got to have a reason why, and that gets into our processing of the. Unless you were going somewhere else with it, my man.
No, so we had a play a couple of weeks ago, very similar to this, where we had a flag for defensive holding, and we had a potential tip at the line of scrimmage, and the official reported to me holding. So I was, because I'm super smart, I said, did that happen prior to the pass being thrown, or did that happen while the ball was in the air? And then we had to really. Yeah, because then at the same time, of course, we had the other officials running up to help, and you know how when officials are trying to help, they're just like pour gas on top of a fire. Oh, yeah. The ball was tipped. The ball was tipped. The ball was tipped. Like, all right, calm down.
It may or may not matter. Okay, in the poll, 82% defensive holding, 13% DPI. 4% both. So, Corey, even I can do this one. I guess 86% see defensive holding and 17% see DPI.
Yeah, there you go. You're getting it.
I'm getting that. It's complex. Okay, so what do we? We're looking at this. Be really
Brandon,
interesting. Yeah,
Brandon. Before you go on, could you please add 86 plus 17 for me?
Nope. Nope. I'm not going to do it. It's called a Venn diagram. Okay, so before we. Did you say before we go on? Now you got me saying before we go on. How about while we go on? While we go on. If we already said the line of scrimmage official has to be the one to basically process this, maybe with support from the deep wing, probably not from the back judge. What are we asking? Anybody chime in? What are we asking the line of scrimmage official to do when he sees that hook action from the linebacker? How do we process this?
We've talked about this a couple times, but it's that two-step process when we see certain fouls in the passing game primarily. You can put this with offensive holds too, but let's just, in passing game, you see the action, we have to find the football. So, the last guy we knew that had the football is the quarterback. So we've got to look back to the quarterback and see what is the status of the ball. And that is our sole determining factor for what we call DH versus DPI.
And so then what we're really looking for is that restrictive element of, whatever it is. That hook. In this case, it's the arm hooking out. And then a element of time. We say element of time, right? Between that, while the quarterback has the ball before the pass is released. But gosh, what is that element of time? Explain, maybe, can you go deeper on that?
Sure. I get what you're getting at. So that element of time, we need to know that the way we judge that element of time is by the time we go from what we deem to be a restriction down the field and our eyes move back up the field. That's kind of that lag. Yeah. That, okay, if we get back to the quarterback and he still has the football, or he's just now in the process of throwing the football, then we can safely assume that restriction occurred while the ball was still in the quarterback's possession and not in the air, which would then translate into a DPI. And so that's where, we can't push rewind. And trust me, I've tried to make that mistake last year, thinking and outsmart it and say, oh, well, by the time I got back there, I think the ball would have still been in his hands, and that was dead wrong. So don't try that. This two-step process, it's not foolproof, but it's the best we got, and it will allow us to achieve a pretty high degree of consistency if used properly by everybody.
Perfect. That's what we're looking for. So on this specific play, with the linebacker hooking his arm out, then it's pretty easy to move my eyeballs on video and see, oh yeah, quarterback's got the ball in his hands, right? But you do feel like, and everybody, chime in, but Corey, you do feel like the element of time is satisfied in terms of the delay between the restriction and when the pass is released to make this defensive holding?
Correct. I think, but you bring up a good point. On the field, when you see that initial turn and you kind of hang with it and then you're processing that, as a foul or not a foul, then you get back there, that may skew that element of time. And so now this is, I wouldn't say that DPI is dead wrong. I think the better call is definitely defensive holding, seeing it on video. But in live action on the field, I could see myself as a deep wing, and Daniel, you can probably chime in here as a back judge if you saw it. I could see myself going DPI just because it is pretty tight. It's when, you say, okay, that's enough for a foul. Let's find the ball, and that ball could be out. When you're on the field.
So I'm on team 17%. I'm gonna be perfectly honest, because for me, and maybe it's just because I'm a little slower mentally than most other people. By the time I process that and look back, the ball is in the air. Just like you said, Corey, especially on the field. Right. I see the restriction, and I have to think about, damn, is that enough restriction? Okay, yeah, that's enough restriction. By the time I look up, the ball is coming at me. So I will be on team 17% here. But I think the important thing is not which side you're on, but to have a good enough process and understand why you're deciding if it's DH or DPI.
I would also say that for the short wing, having that perpendicular look, he shouldn't have a lot of doubt, right? Like if we've established that he's going to be primary on this action, he should have a really good feel that the ball is still in the quarterback's hand when he observes this supposed restriction.
Sure. Because why? Why should he have a better feel than like a deep official who's maybe looking through all that and can see?
Yeah, I think he just has the ability, real simply, to have a feel for the quarterback and his peripheral vision. Whereas when you're deep, you really, a lot of times as a back judge, I've experienced the ability to kind of have a sense of where the quarterback was in terms of, if you want to call it a wind up, in my peripheral, but oftentimes the deep wings don't have that. And depending on where it occurs as a back judge, I won't have that. But the line judge in that situation, especially at the 5-yard line where he hasn't really had to turn his head downfield yet, he should have a pretty good sense on this play, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. All right. Very good. So then let's move. We're not going to touch the targeting aspect, just, pretty good technique by the defender. But let's touch the catch, no catch aspect, which I know is obviously an incomplete pass. But you might be surprised at how not obvious this stuff can get in real time with all the communication that we're now hearing. All right, so check this out. All three of these statements are true in the poll, right? Which true statement is most relevant to the process of number 22 attempting to make this catch, okay? So all these statements are true. Number 22 never gained firm control of the ball in the air. That's true. Number 22 may have remained upright without contact by the defense. That might be true. Maybe. Number 22 does not survive the ground with control of the ball. Okay, that's true. So which of those statements that are mostly true? I'll say mostly true because I can't be a – although these guys are crazy, right? Out there, they do crazy things. They put one foot on the ground and it's like, boom, they're off to the races. So I would never doubt if number 22 would have stayed upright. I'll go with that as a true statement. You guys would go with me, I'm sure. So, but which statement is most relevant to making a judgment of number 22 attempting to make this catch? Another solid poll writer effort, by the way. I was waiting for your comment. Votes are trickling in, man. I think maybe the first two were a little bit one-sided. Not sure about this one, huh? Tuta, this one's looking a little different.
I think you stumped everybody with this one.
I stumped everybody?
Are you still referring to yourself in the third person? I'll play along. The poll writer stumped everybody with this one.
Oh, man. This is good stuff. I love this stuff. So here's the thing. We could just keep repeating the same process of the catch stuff over and over. I just ended the poll. We could keep repeating the same process of the catch stuff over and over and just talk about the, control, body part, element of time, got to survive the ground. Yeah, we all know that, right? Well, do we? I don't know. I mean, we keep looking at these plays over and over and we keep disagreeing on them. Not just we here, but we all over in the community of officiating football. So what we've attempted to do over the last several years is just look at things differently, like from different angles. And, so we do a lot of, as what ifs and pretend he controls the ball and do all this. But on this one, this is a little different. So, with this, let's look at the poll results. What do we see in Tuta from the poll results, and how do you interpret that?
So it looks like we're a little split here. So most of us, but it's really only a little bit more than half. This is election season. So we wouldn't have to go to a runoff. 54% of us said the player never gained firm control of the ball in the air, and that is the statement that's most relevant for us to determine whether this is a catch or an incomplete pass. And then the other large segment of the population said the player did not survive the ground with control of the ball. And then a few smattering of people said he may have remained upright without the contact by the defense. Good. So here's what I want to also point out. I feel like, and maybe I'm just kind of weird. I got a split personality disorder. I talk to myself on the field all the time. Like I'm talking to myself through plays. And I think I say a lot of true statements to myself, but they may not always be applicable to what the heck I'm doing. And then when I go down the wrong road, it's maybe because I talked myself into that with a statement that is maybe true, but not all that relevant. And we can do that here. And this actually happened on this play. Okay. So let's wipe out the middle option. Number 22 may have remained upright without contact by the defense. Maybe, I don't know, really, Daniel, that would only be relevant if
he actually had control of the ball and there was all this element of time involved. So we can wipe that out, may have remained upright without contact, but we can just wipe that one out in this play because of the time aspect, right?
Yes.
Okay,
this is
great.
like one of those, I don't know, was it an SAT question? If if A never happened, then B becomes irrelevant. Like,
Yeah.
you're really blowing my mind here, right?
What you're going after is
we
logic.
never named firm control, him being upright is irrelevant.
Okay, yeah, this is logic. So we know up the receiver really has to have control of the football, kind of for an element of time to transition to a runner and all that good stuff. And it just never happens here, so we don't worry too much about if he would have remained upright. Okay, so now let's go to the split decision. So is it more relevant to say that number 22 never gained firm control of the ball in the air? Is that what's helping us with this? Or is it really more relevant to kind of look at the whole going to the ground aspect and not gaining, surviving the ground with control of the ball? The poll writer doesn't want to answer the own poll. So what do you guys think in terms of weighing in on all this?
So here, I'll take a whack at it. So this is definitely one of those logic questions. I don't know what we're doing here tonight, guys. I know it's Thanksgiving holiday and you guys are looking forward to
You know what we're doing? We're not just saying the same old stuff that everybody says when
That's
we look
true.
Oh, that's a catch. Oh, that's a catch. That's a catch. No, it's not.
No, that's incomplete. That's incomplete. Why? Well, I don't know. Look, the ball on the ground.
Settle down.
Danny.
Okay, so here's my perspective. Whether or not we gain firm control, if we have ruled, I think as we have, that this is the player who's going to the ground to complete the catch, whether or not he's gained firm control isn't really relevant to the indecision or to the end END decision, the final decision.
Freudian slip.
Judgment. Yeah, that was Freudian.
Yeah.
What matters is whether or not he survives the ground with control of the ball. So he doesn't survive the ground with control. So whether or not he initially had firm control or not becomes irrelevant because ultimately the ball comes out. So even if he did, it's an incomplete pass. You tracking me?
Perfect. I love it. Okay, and so let's just talk. This is just between all of us here, right? Just us, the community. This is where we can get this. I wanted to put this out there as an example. We can go down rabbit holes that are truths that just put us into irrelevant aspects of ruling on football plays that are performed by, very competent and highly effective athletes. So this play was stopped. This play was stopped by instant replay to look at the catch, no catch aspect. And we've all watched this now 100 times. And you got to be kidding me, right? Well, look, they were kind of, grinding on the fact, did he control that ball in the air? Did he control it or not? And then they couldn't confirm that he never had control in the air. So, we just talked ourselves into that notion, of this firm control thing because we know it's the first element of gaining possession, kind of. And we just kind of lost track of where we were in the process, and the whole process as a whole, to repeat myself and be redundant, the process as a whole, we kind of just lost track of that. It's like, well, he clearly is going to the ground. Maybe he would have stayed upright without that contact, but there's no element of time involved. He's clearly going to the ground. The ball's on the turf. Whether he gained control in the air is not relevant to us making an accurate judgment on this play. So it's just interesting that, in the heat of the moment, we tell ourselves all these truths, and you could talk about holding, visual mechanics, transitions, DPI, defensive, targeting, all these different things. Sometimes we almost got to just step back and make sure that the truths are relevant to the action we're judging. You guys see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff. So that was a nothing play that lasted 25 minutes. That's how we roll. Hey, you welcomed the umpires into peer officiating virtual study groups, didn't you, Tuta?
Yeah, I did.
All right, let's look at this play, a few different angles, and it's kind of hard to. I thought it was difficult to see this block, just as the video went. So we paused this with a little illustration preloaded, and so that is some really good graphics. So we're going to see this action. Number 31 of the defense gets blocked by which lineman? Was it the center, maybe? It's either the left guard or the center. It's number 50 in the white jersey. And so as we talk about second level, we'll have another play next, but let's just kind of discuss what we mean by second level. So when we're thinking about, I think it's kind of a common term now, but maybe not for everybody. When we're talking second level, Tutal, what are we talking about?
The first level will be the down lineman and anyone who's considered a lineman on a line of scrimmage from a defensive perspective. The second level will be where the linebackers and maybe sometimes the walk-up safeties would be, which is basically 2 or 3 yards downfield.
That's right. Going out to get linebackers or maybe walk-up defensive backs. So, this has always been and still is one of the most challenging areas in the field for us to cover in terms of blocking, I would say, maybe in terms of other things, but for sure blocking. And we put another official on the field, a lot of us working crew of 8. And so we've gotten a lot better, but still these plays creep up on us. And so let's just lay it out there, Daniel. I mean, what kind of emphasis for you, just talking personally, I know from working running plays, what have you done just looking at a lot of these plays? And you can't always get there from your position, but certainly if you can support the second level, is that an emphasis that you've worked on over the last several years?
Yeah, for sure. That's exactly what it's been, is an emphasis for me in terms of improvement, because I think when we just think about, and I don't want to get too broad here, but for us as deeps adding value, we really just want to work to be, my approach was I wanted to be very, very active in the run game and be able to help those guys up front doing that. And so for me, what that looks like practically is really recognizing the kind of coverage that my wide receiver keys are working with, and then taking the opportunity to identify my tackles and effectively officiate them at the snap and as long as I can until I need to get back to my initial key. And so it's been a progression every year. And so this year what I've done is I've identified the numbers of my DB pre-snap, but I also identify the numbers of my tackle pre-snap, because I think that's going to help me find them if I need to in the second level. So the really short answer you were probably looking for is, yeah, I think that especially as back judges, finding the opportunity to find those second level blocks and officiate them can be just hugely beneficial for us as a crew. We've got an umpire here, right? For those of us that have an umpire behind the defense, and that's great, but we just want to be able to support them and be a part of this process. And so you want to go ahead and I'll just talk to you about the back judge experience on this play.
Yeah. Let's do that, and then let's transition right into why this might be difficult for the umpire.
Yeah, absolutely. So as a back judge, we've got trips down here. Really, we know that we have the number 3 receiver. That's not news to us. But with both of those guys having such a big cushion, what I want to do is start on. Is that quads to the bottom? Did I miss that? Is that a tight end?
It's an unbalanced line. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's tackle.
So that made it slower, to be honest with you, because I started on the tight end right here. And so what you want to do when you read run play, all right, so here it is for back judges, and I think this applies to deep wings often too. When we have a big cushion with our receiver keys, initial keys, I'm thinking about, okay, how can I help if this is a run play? And so it starts by having an initial my initial vision set on the tackle, or in this case, the tight end. As soon as I see him run block, my next thought is, okay, where is this play going? Because as a back judge, I'm going to work from an inside-out perspective, but I want to find the flow of the play so I can go get out in front of the runner again from the inside out. So on here right now, looking at the end zone, we're on the tight end. Right now, I've got to feel that this play is going to my right as a back judge, the left from the offensive perspective. So I want to shift my eyes over to that direction. The trick is, and here's what's really challenging about this, and you have to work at it, is prioritizing the correct block, because again, we don't want to get too wide because we've got more support out wide with the deep official and the line of scrimmage official than we do in the middle. But that's what we're thinking about. I've got a block, I've got a run play. Now it's going to the right side. Let me shift my eyes over there and find a second level block to officiate.
So Daniel, well, what about the fact that the umpire is also going to work some second level stuff? So you say you don't want to get too wide because you have help out there. What about being too narrow because the umpire may be in there?
Yeah, I think that's certainly a consideration, but I think right now is a great time for us to talk about the challenges of the umpire. And we've really, I think, emphasized to our umpires who are on the defensive side of the ball to be efficient in the second level blocks. But here's what we're going to look. The right tackle right now is threatening number 0, the middle linebacker. We've got our guy who's going to commit a foul over here on the right side of the formation from the back judge perspective. He's reaching, trying to get to the second level. And then we've got another guy who we haven't talked about who's trying to get to number 31. So there's just, especially when we start talking about the RPO, we've got 3 or 4 guys trying to get to the second level who are trying to officiate a block. So the umpire is kind of going through this same prioritization that we're going through in the defensive backfield. And we haven't spent a lot of time, honestly, just in general sense, talking about how do I identify what's a better place for the umpire to be, which is a better place for the back judge to be. We're kind of just hoping that between the two of us, we're able to cover those blocks, because it's a really challenging play for us.
Right.
That's a really good point. And I feel like the umpire here, that this is where we need to go. I love that you said that, because this is where we need to go. We do need to get to the point, and we're not there yet. Actually, we're not even close. We need to get to the point that just before that spot shadow happens, we need to know from our mechanics, should the umpire be looking right here or should he be looking out here? And for those that would say, well, he should obviously be looking out to his right. Well, that's because we know what happened. That's because we know what happened. We need better triggers, and we need better, standards on how to transition to the second level. And to me too, Todd, I don't think we're there.
I will say, I'll jump in. I'll say that I try to focus my attention on the tackles still at the second level, but that doesn't mean that a guard who pops to the second level won't grab my attention. So I think that's a little bit a part of that prioritization.
This is the center. This is the center. So
this is the center. And so just to get to the punchline here, as the back judge on this play, I turn and I see the it happens in a split second, so I don't even know what the tail end means, but I just saw the defender, the offensive guy letting go of the jersey and the defender kind of falling back. And I was really, really confident that I just saw a hold, but I wasn't confident enough. And so I chickened out like a little girl, or I chickened out and didn't.
You're in the head of the back judge there. Cause look at, just after the spot shadow, here's what this looks like. That could easily turn into something right here, right? I mean, look at that. That's the wrong color on the wrong side. The ball carrier is the team in white. If we haven't watched this enough, but the team with the ball is the team in white. And so anytime you see a wrong colored jersey on the other side of who's blocking him, that's a threat. And really at this point, I mean, this looks like it's going to be a regular block. Obviously, anytime we get runners going out wide, that can change the relationship of what looks like a good block or not. But it's really interesting on how we can make that umpire back judge relationship. And then I don't know about deep wing, you guys.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Let me go back. I know you have. Let me go back to this.
Get him, Corey.
Get him,
Corey.
Let's hear it.
All right. I mean, you guys have all touched on the challenges of second level blocks for anybody involved, and you're right. 100%. We are not there yet. But if there's ever a play as a deep wing that you can really hopefully nail, I think it's this one. And this is why. When you recognize this formation and you recognize that the widest guy in the formation is an ineligible number, he's not going to be going out for a pass. So you can immediately recognize two things: that if my side becomes play side, it's either going to be a run or it's going to be 3 routes from across the field that are coming my way. So it allows you to get in there quicker, to get to that edge. And we're working, outside in. And I think that, while Daniel has a good chance to get over there, because his tight end does block right away and releases that. I think that, I can't even tell I couldn't even remember if that's a side judge or field judge up there, has the best shot at getting a clean look at this. Just because the formation. Now, if we have a receiver out there that we're getting off of, then we run into the same challenges that Daniel would have as a back judge on there. But I think, part of your pre-snap routine has got to be, recognizing formations. And not very often do we have a lineman as our key as the widest guy. But when it happens here, there's only two things going to happen to become play side. It's either going to be a run to that side, or you're going to have, drag routes, post routes that come from across the field,
which will take forever to develop.
Correct.
So I just think left tackle. Go ahead. Let me say one thing, and then you go to. I was just going to say, to me, the side judge or whoever's up top deep on the sideline is totally freed up here. Like, I get it. If there's a chop block involving the left tackle, whatever. But I mean, we've got eyes on the left tackle, even in an unbalanced set. So, man, just try to find a threat and work the heck out of that threat as much as you can, especially on a running play. Go to John.
Yeah, and so you said, and it would take forever for anything to be over there, which would lead me to talk about from a movement standpoint. Because a lot of times when we start moving, now we can't really focus on things. But from a movement standpoint, on a play like this, I literally would not move a muscle because there's no reason to move. You don't even have a reason to even take one. I know some people say take a step back and then read the play. No, on this play, don't even take a step back. Just literally stand there, pop a beer, and watch what's going to happen on the play.
That's a good point too, Tom. That's all.
And here's the thing. This restriction is so big, even if you're looking at the left tackle block, that thing is going to jump out at you, and you'll be able to see that. I mean, because it's just huge. He just reached out and just yanks the dude from behind. And it's all the way on the back side of the play, so it's wide open. It looks like it's kind of in the middle of things from the sideline view, from the coach's tape sideline. But when you look from the end zone view, it's wide open. It's all out the middle. So as a deep wing, I would really strive and hope that I could get this action.
Okay, awesome. Let's go to – so we got another second-level blocking play. That one was really for illustrative purposes. And now let's look at this play. This is an interesting play as well. All these are a little bit different from each other, which is why we got to do a lot more focus on setting these things up better. So this is going to be another second-level block. It's actually going to be the left tackle. Look at the pull as the play starts to run. And we got basically every position on the field. I don't know if we actually – the only guy we eliminated was the side judge. So the line judge and field judge are up top with the chains. Okay, they're on the chain side of the field. And this will loop again. So who in this case is the best to officiate left tackle A75's block on linebacker or whatever he is, B22? And all of these plays with significant blocks at the second level really do take on their own identity. I feel it's interesting. And maybe that's just because of our lack of preparation on these. I don't know, we've got DPI categories. They all kind of look different, but we can categorize them into actions. Same with OPI, holding. We got a lot of work to do, guys.
We don't like the AO as an option for answer choice here.
No.
All right.
We already know what they're supposed to be doing.
I really don't. I could use some tips.
I think it's always interesting on a play like this when we have two offensive linemen go to the second level. And this is really, to me, where the discussion, when we're on our cruise, this is what we need to talk about. Okay, Mr. Umpire, you got two going out there. Which one are you prioritizing, the play side or the back side? Because really on this one, we got two of them releasing.
Yep. That's where we need to get. And then, I mean, the poor umpire, look at what happens. Believe it's the block involving, let's see it. I believe it's the right guard. Gets beat right off the snap. A little slipping action going on there, really. But I think it's easy for the umpire to get caught up in all of that, and then almost lose your faculties. You know, we're already breaking the play down before we end the poll, but that's okay. Lose your faculties on what else is going to happen, you know. So we've got is this a smattering of poll results?
That's a smattering. I think that's a smattering.
They're smattered.
38% headline judge.
0%.
Interesting.
H is at the bottom? Is H at the bottom? Oh.
H is at the bottom. That's really interesting. 38%. And I wonder if we were all oriented the same. That's okay. So 38% headline judge, umpire 28%, center judge 14%. Interesting. Back judge 14%. Nobody chose the alternate because it wasn't an option.
It didn't make the rising
or whatever. So the U has good comments in the chat. So right away, let's just go. I mean, Tutal, what are you? This is your crew, and we missed this. What are you going to do with this play?
So I think what we need to do is do exactly what you just did and just talk about, okay, who's going to see. Well, we can start with one block because it's, a lot of times when you throw too much information at people, they struggle with like speaking up. So I would just ask about one particular block. And then what that would do is force everyone to talk about, well, why I wouldn't be on this block? Why wouldn't I be on this block? And then we could all start talking about, okay, well, I would be looking here. Wait a minute. If you're looking there, I think I would be looking there. So, and then we could really get to the point where we can actually break down coverages from a crew standpoint, which is interesting looking at these results because, some of these are surprising to me, but I don't like to just flat out say things are wrong. I would love to understand why somebody would say a thing that they would say. And some of these plays or concepts are really interesting. Some of these votes are really interesting. Like from a center judge, at first I was like, why would the center judge see that? But then you start looking, the center judge really, there's nothing else to look at because he's free. Now, I don't know if I would want him looking that far downfield in between players, but at the same time, there's not much else for the center judge to look at, to be perfectly honest.
Right. And, you know, man, this is really interesting from a center judge perspective. So if we talk center judge and headline judge, so we know that, let's see, we know that where are we at here? Okay, here we go. We know the center judge is here and the headline judge is over here. And we know the hold's going to take place over here. So let's just get to where we think. Let's talk center judge first. Okay, center judge pre-snap is going to be working, you know, kind of this matchup in here and then this matchup in here since that defensive player is so far out, head up on the guard. So we got to be aware of those from the center judge position. All right, that's where we start. That doesn't mean that's where we stay. That's where we start. So how does this play develop? Immediately from the center judge position, we're probably going to work this. Would you agree? That's where we'd want the center judge at this point.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely.
Good. Okay, so let's keep moving on. Okay, now we get a sense, hopefully, from the center judge position now that the play is going right. And at this point, you know, where we were with this left guard isn't too relevant to this play. So want to make sure, though, that we don't get caught up here. You're just not going to see it all. And we're at risk to get fooled if we start guessing there. And even if we get there with our eyes, we got to get off of that because we don't know. We don't have it all, you know, basically we don't have enough of it to know if it's a foul or not. So we got to get off of that. All right. Now, I just think the next place we're going to go is if we sense it's flowing right. Oh, man, we probably, if we're not staying here, I think we'd probably be here.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's why I think I would prefer the center judge go.
Okay. So, you know, now let's keep transitioning and see if there's any. Just look at, you know, if we want what we just said, the center judge to be on this number 72 right there, then this, you know, by the time, man,
he'll be guessing. He would be Superman or guessing if he was to see that restriction.
Yeah. So that's, I don't hate that thought. Like if 72 was nothing, right there, if 72 was nothing, could you look through all of this and pick this up right here from the center judge position? Really, really interesting. We shouldn't rule any of this out, by the way. We should not rule any of this out. But in this specific play, I think we wouldn't be there. Okay, headline judge. We should probably go back to the wide. So headline judge is at the bottom. So what do we know about this formation? We've motioned into kind of a pro set look, right tight end. So headline judge is inside, right? Headline judge starts inside.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we start with the tackle. I think we're gonna see that tackle fire out. That's our guy. And can we stay with that? That's an interesting thought. Here's the thing, though, statistically. So if we're working that tackle because the two backs are in the tackle box, if we're working that tackle, we really don't have receivers on this play from the headline judge position. That's a really good thought to have the headline judge there, guys. I mean, mechanically, that's incredible, don't you think?
Yeah, I never would have guessed it either. I never would have
I
thought.
know. Here's why. We're biased because statistically, we've never seen this call been made by a headline judge. I'm just telling you. Maybe a low block from the side here, but we've never seen holding called right here by the headline judge. Why? I don't know. Why? Like, why not? I mean, I think we nailed this one from the community personally. Why wouldn't we want the headline judge on this block? Is there a good reason not to?
The only thing you could probably just lean on is because he has some forward progress responsibility along with the line judge, but that's kind of a weak excuse, honestly.
Yeah. I find it interesting that we basically didn't consider the headline judge because we're so biased that we just never see them call this. What do you think, Daniel?
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that at all.
Corey, what do you think on that?
I think there is a little bit of danger if not for this play, but in terms of consistency of mechanics for the headline judge maybe being that far over and that deep into the secondary. It really works out this play that he's got a great potential and there's nothing else maybe for him to be doing visually, but it's a really kind of a, I don't know how to put it. It's a weird place on the football field for a headline judge to be there consistently mechanically.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say a unicorn?
I think it's dangerous for the headline judge in this play for two reasons. Number one, the distance involved and the angle that he's going to have. Is he going to see everything? And if you're going to throw something from 48 yards away, you better have a dang good look at it. And
that's true. That's a good point.
That's a lot to ask for. I mean, yeah, if it opens up to him and he or she's 100% sure of it,
mm-hmm.
Yeah, can they save the crew? Yes, but I don't. To say that we need to rely on that offside wing, man, that's tough.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what else, unless you're just watching the ball, what else would you be watching? Because you wouldn't.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, he's got to get out in front of it. I just don't know if he's going to see the whole thing.
You wouldn't expect him to be there, would you?
Well, that's where I would go personally. I think
that's you coming from this way.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, but that would free up the back judge then to get to play side, and so
right.
I don't know if headline judge can get this, just because of that angle. I mean, he's looking right through that back right now.
Yeah, I get that.
Wait, but I don't, Brandon. I don't think you're asking should the head linesman be primary on that, right?
No.
I think the question is just can he see it? He or she see it? I would absolutely not say that we would want that person to be primary, but I do think is a chance that they could see it.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. What about back judge? Daniel, what are you seeing from the back judge?
Well, I've already officiated the play clock appropriately, so I think
your job is done.
My wide receiver here is
boy.
He's got plenty of cushion. He throws a legal block. I think I've done my job really well here.
That's your one guy.
Listen, that conversation can happen even maybe from an evaluator perspective, and we can kind of fall into that trap. And great play for us to just kind of challenge ourselves as back judges, because if there's ever been a scenario that is more on a silver platter for a back judge to catch a second level illegal block, this is it. Let's, if we can go back to the initial formation here, we talked about this on the last play. So we know the back judge is to the bottom of the formation, the number 2 receiver, huge cushion there before he's going to be threatened for foul by the defender. So this is the opportunity where us as back judges want to go into that inside tackle, and he's going to tell us what the play is going to be. We've talked about this in different contexts, but he's going to tell me if it's a run or a pass play. So now when he immediately fires out and makes contact, here's the only possible danger for the back judge is feeling the flow to his left and trying to get out in front of the runner. But here's why we should not do that. Because this tackle is going to be the only thing within a mile of the second level. There's nothing else going on, and he's going to get out on him so fast. That's where the back judge should stay. As soon as that contact emerges and that block happens, there's no reason for us to take our eyes off it because it's immediately, there's arms outstretched, so we're immediately thinking grabbing, so there's indicators right there for us as a back judge to think, uh-oh, this has the potential, and then it's going to slide over to be in front of the play side anyway. So I think just from a back judge perspective, listen, we can talk about whatever everybody else should be officiating. This is the block that we should be officiating on this play. This is the poster child for the back judge working second level blocks by interior linemen.
Hey, Daniel, I think also too, if we have back judges who are sitting here thinking, you know what, the umpire has to be looking at that, so I'm going to let the umpire work that. I would urge you to smack the umpire in the back of his head with your flag. Just throw your flag right at the back of him.
Right. I wouldn't aim for the head or neck area, but in the middle of the back. Maybe
right. But don't hold your flag because you're thinking, oh, the umpire has to be working that block. No. You need to work that block as a back judge, like Daniel was saying, and forget about the fact that if you think the umpire is looking at it or not. If it's a foul, throw your flag.
Officiate your area of responsibility like you're the only one doing it.
That's correct.
Because here's the problem. We're still telling umpires for some reason they got the center and 2 guards. Okay.
Yep.
We're actually still saying that. We don't have a good reason to say that, but that's what we're still saying predominantly. So on this play, guard beat immediately. So that's going to catch his attention, even though that's really the responsibility of the referee. And man, in a perfect world, these two would be synced up so well that the umpire would know the referee. If that turns into a foul, the referee is going to call that. If the umpire could trust this referee, okay? So really, at this point, when the umpire basically has no idea how this guy goes down,
absolutely,
we have we have to look for another.
That's right. That's what we do during the school year too. Just kidding.
I think Daniel is.
He's trying to multitask.
He is trying to multitask. Poor guy. It's Thanksgiving weekend, for crying out loud. The point I was trying to make is, if the umpire could hand this off to the referee and kind of like our deep and perimeter people switch all the time, hand this block off and then look for something else. Maybe it's here, but hopefully the transition would be here. And unfortunately, we just miss our transition point because by the time we get to this from the umpire perspective, it's over. Look, it's over. And that's really not the umpire's fault. It's not the umpire's fault, but it bolsters your point even more that don't just assume the umpire is going to see this and make a judgment on it from any other position on the field.
Hey, Brandon, can you go back to the wide angle? Because you brought up a good word that came up last night. As we kind of dove into this play as a deep core last night. And we talked about trust, and some back judges were having a hard time with saying that they could get to that with their key being at the bottom. And my argument to that was, okay, your initial key is so far off from being threatened that as soon as you recognize run, you have to trust that your deep wing to the right, I think it's a side judge in this case, is going to transition there immediately and pick that up, because that you have to have that trust that your deep wing mate is going to have your back on that. And if you don't have that trust, the back judge is never going to get there because he's going to feel, man, I got to stay on that initial key with that 8-yard cushion just in case he comes and takes him down or whatever. And so for you back judges, side judges, field judges, have that conversation with one another and reassure your back judge, hey, it is okay for you to go to play side because I've got your back here.
Yeah, perfect. We know we're going to start with the pink from the back judge. Daniel talked about that, but Corey's point, look at the yellow, their cushion. We can peek inside, right? As back judges, that's what we've been accustomed to doing, peeking inside, get that read run read, get over into those green arrows. Tough stuff, Corey. I mean, that stuff is really tough.
I mean, this is a good clinic play in my opinion.
Yeah.
This is something you can talk about mechanics all day long.
All day long. Okay, cool. So let's go. Let's stay with inside holding real brief. No polls or anything here. Good work. If there's more questions, fire away. This has to do with the old cliche of, double team blocks. And I bet you everybody in the session tonight has heard in one way, shape, or form that, if you see a double team block, get off of it. And that, man, we just need to be a little more nuanced than that. So watch what's going on with the right guard and the right tackle. Okay. And so this will just be an example of, it's going to really appear as a double team block, but the damage has already been done, and we don't talk too much about, is it holding or isn't it? More, if you'll notice, we put more obvious calls up when it is and just talk about mechanics so that we can detect this stuff. Because the detection, Corey, what it's about. Very often when we see holding, we're very accurate on it. When we miss it, it's because we didn't see it. Correct. Or we didn't see it in time, like the last play. So end zone view, you can see the end zone view, and we'll just let this loop and run and talk through it. I think we're okay initially, but real quick, the right guard gets that right arm hooked over the shoulder, and that's an immediate, red level threat that could possibly turn into offensive holding. And then we really just take the guy down. And you could say, well, I'm going to pass on that because the right tackle helped pull that guy to the ground. And that would be okay if the right guard didn't have his arm over the top of that defender to start with. But if we look at this, and I don't even want to do slow-mo stop frame on this one. It's not even worth it. We just got to process this stuff in real time. So the video is pretty high quality. Look at that technique from the right guard. He immediately kind of wraps his right arm over the top of that shoulder, twist, take down to the ground. Runner runs right through this. Meets our, that diagram we put up several weeks ago, is the restriction high enough relative to the proximity to the point of attack? Yes. The only thing we could even say this is remotely not a foul would be right tackle pushes him down. But like I said, the damage is already done. So, Corey, we just want to be careful. We want to be careful sticking to old cliches that, again, they're truths, right? Double team. I'm off that. They're truths. But they lead us down the wrong decision-making process on this play.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to break the mold of what we've been force-fed for so long, and that, this, like you said earlier, this is not a true double team. The impact of that block is straight from the right guard.
Yes.
I mean, the right guard gets involved at the end, but like you said, the damage has been done, and the way, just the body physics of how that guard falls to his back. And then, I mean, if a guy's falling to his back, why would a guy that has position fall on top of him unless he's getting pulled down?
Yeah.
And, those are the things, to break that. I think that you hit it perfectly. You just got to break that mold and be willing to recognize and say, that wasn't just a double team. I need to stay with that and process it just a little bit longer. Instead of, I think we get in the bad habit of seeing a double team, we immediately get away from it. And we try to find other exits. That's what we've been, asked to do for so many years. But
it's kind of the tried and true axiom that, man, it helps us a lot, but not always, because now we're seeing a lot of defensive holding actions of preventing guys from going to the second level, which could have easily happened here. We're seeing basically, defenders able to split those double teams and then get held after that. So Daniel, there's just a lot of things. Anything to add from a double team perspective? And sure, we want to, we don't want to sit on double teams that are just stalemates, but man, it's not an absolute in officiating just to get off the double team.
Yeah, no, I don't have anything to add. I do have something to add, but before that, I want to say that's such a good point for us to take away tonight, is this idea that, axioms and cliches and philosophies all kind of run together sometimes and run rampant in officiating. And we're not being dismissive of that. They can be really effective for us, but we have to understand that they're certainly not absolutes, and we have to know when they apply and when they don't. The only situation where we would not want this would if 59's arm kind of gets out there over the shoulder initially, and then immediately upon that, the right tackle comes over and shoves him over, and we deem that the right tackle shove is what took him to the ground. Okay,
right.
Well, in that case, we could say, okay, this is not a hold because it turned into a double team, and the secondary block is really what sent him to the ground. I don't know. I think it's a really interesting visual exercise from the umpire's perspective about where he's looking to start the play, and does he transition at any point during this play, because his two kind of defensive line anchors are pretty far apart. I don't know that he can officiate both those guys simultaneously. So,
it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. We really would want the umpire to start from his perspective, the right A gap, the offensive left A gap, and make a pretty good transition quick. Because we talk about double teams. Look at what happens to the right A gap defender there. That's a true double team. That's what we're talking about. Immediately that's a true double team with really no advantage at all. Nobody's trying to get to the second level. Nobody's grabbing. That's what we want to get off of and transition back to this. That's quick. I get it. That is really, really quick. Because the center judge is probably going to transition out to the front of the run here, not be on the back. This center judge is working same side, so just depending on his vision, he's probably going to get those two blocks to the left side relative to the offense. And then the referee's going to work this attempted hook, by that wham block coming back. And so if we did want to stop this, we could show the point where there's a beautiful triangle that sets up between the referee looking at that wham block hook right there on 22. He misses. The umpire looking at this, what turns into, an offensive hold, and then the center judge out to the left. And we just got to keep working. We're just not always going to get these plays 100% ideal. Our mechanics set us up to get close, but this is a play where we would just want to keep working, and maybe there are other ideas. But really the point of this was just to talk about challenging those tried and true cliches that we all hear every single year that aren't always true. All right. The ground can't cause a fumble is another one. Yes, that's absolutely true. If your only balance point is the football on the ground and the ball pops loose, that would be the ground causing a fumble, and that's a fumble. Good point, Dan. All right, let's go. Let's move on. We're rolling a lot of inside blocking, second level. That's good stuff. We haven't really got there, but now let's switch back to our. We got to get back into the passing game, right? This is 2020 for crying out loud. We're throwing the ball. We're throwing the ball around. So we're going to have two plays in the category of defensive pass interference, hook and turn. So. I don't know, Corey, you want to start with this and maybe just describe, and Daniel chime in, the elements of this specific DPI category, which I think can be very challenging.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is probably the most challenging for any of the deeps, just because you need a relationship with where the ball is, and that's really hard looking from behind. But let's start with the basics of hook and turn, and it's called hook and turn for a reason. Just because you have a hook doesn't mean that that's a foul. And then I always say hook and turn kind of slow and deliberate that way, because you want to be able to see that distinction, that hook, then the turn, the defender turn the receiver and get to that ball before the ball reaches where the receiver is at, if that makes any sense. So it has to give them some type of an advantage. And a lot of times we make a mistake on this, and we err and throw for DPI when the ball's already got there, and it really looks bad from our position. And when you see it on video, like, damn it, the ball was already there. And so it does make it tough, but you're looking for that hook and turn prior to that ball getting there. And in essence, what that's doing is that the defender is using the hook to gain leverage, to get his body to kind of slingshot around and to make a play on that ball. So is that, I don't know if we went too deep there to start with, but that's kind of the basics of hook and turn.
No, that's good. And then, so do you see any differences between these plays, play one and play two? It's the same pattern. It's the same category of action, but do you see any differences?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You see differences. I mean, there's one that, one that raises the radar more so than the other, but still, it's the timing aspect of it, and what makes this easier for a line of scrimmage official versus a deep official is because they can see, they're seeing between the action. They have a relationship, a lateral position where that they can see between the action and where the ball is and where that relationship is with the ball and the action. Whereas with us, a lot of times we're looking linearly through it that it makes it tough. It makes it real tough. So, but, looking at it on video, you can break it down to see that, okay, one was a little bit different than the other. I mean, not by much.
Yeah. So, I mean, we talk about two-step process. What you outlined is really a three-step process. You have to see the hook. That's not a foul. The hook itself is not a foul.
Correct.
Then you have to see the turn, and now you have to add the element of where the football is relative to that timing, the contact. Did the contact materially impede the receiver prior to the ball getting there?
Right. I mean, it makes it easy on us in the back, from the deep, is if the ball hits one of these players. That's when it makes it easy. But
Absolutely.
It's in these ones where they hook turn and then the ball just zings by them. You really have no idea. You're kind of guessing.
Hard.
It's so hard. So I'll let Daniel chime in on this because these give me nightmares.
Yeah, no, I don't have anything unique to add. You're just you're really spot on. Similar to like if he plays through the back and the ball sails over his head, trying to piece together from behind the defender of where the ball was in relation to that contact is really, really challenging. Where I see us getting fooled sometimes with these is there usually is a hook at once there is a hook, there is typically a turn at some point during the play, right? It typically happens at some point, but so often we see it at the end after the ball is either bouncing on the ground or sailing past a receiver, and we get fooled by that visually because we see the body action that is clearly a hook and turn, and we don't add in that third element, which is the time element. And so it's one of those I think you just have to really drill into your brain over and over again.
Oh, 100%. Like, on these where the ball doesn't hit somebody, I pass on it probably 100% of the time, and just because you're kind of guessing, and it's tough. But there's another aspect to this that's kind of new. We touched on it a little bit last night. I don't know how much time we want to spend on it, but some of these defenders now, they're using that hook as a slingshot to keep them in play with the receiver, and we haven't seen it described as a foul for as a category of DPI, but we're seeing it. They're grabbing jersey and slingshot, but they're also using that hip, and they're beaten. They use that the physics of it to have something to grasp onto to keep them with that receiver. And I'd like to spend some more time finding more plays like this because I think it's something that's creeping into all levels of football. I've seen it in the NFL. I've seen it in college football, and it's going to be interesting to know it's got to be something that's coached, say, hey, just stay within arm's length and then grab him and slingshot yourself forward. But we can maybe touch on that at a different time.
Sure. Dan mentions in the chat the location of the grab or the hook as potentially a difference maker. Have you guys seen any of that? Like in play one, he grabs him up around the shoulder, and then play two, it's lower.
You get more of a violent turn if you're up high.
Gotcha.
And so it looks worse. Like in play one, which we're looking. I mean, that hook, the turn is so far after the ball's there, but if you see that type, that's the type of turn you're going to see if you grab a shoulder. But a good defensive back, they're going to try to get on the hip, because they know that they're going to have an effect, but it's not going to show up as big. So, but DBs are good and they're coached this way, and if they do it properly and they time it properly, it's an effective way to defend a pass.
Yeah, and so the type of routes that you most likely would see this, I think, are what we are looking at right here, right? These slants over the middle, skinny posts, basically outside in, but more like diagonal. I don't know about too many. Would you see them on like crossing routes so much?
You could if it's a short field. So if you're deep in the red zone, if you're 7 and in, and you got a lot of straight crossers, you could see it then.
And I think the reason we mention that is because it's important from a pattern recognition standpoint. Pattern just so happens to apply here. Literally, the type of pattern the receiver is running, you start to anticipate some things that are more likely to happen. And then we just lessen that risk of being surprised by actions since we're more prepared, mentally of what can potentially happen based on the route the receiver runs.
Right, because that first route, that's a dig route. I mean, that's a 7-yard dig. He's going straight across the yard line, so it can't happen on straight across routes.
Yeah. He kind of bows out, and then I see what you're saying. All right, guys. Anything else on this? This is good stuff. I mean, this is our mission. We love going into this. This is what we talk about, text about. When we put up plays when we're in the same conference room, these are the things we love to discuss. Not just is it holding or is it not, which I know we've talked holding, so bad example, but the why, the let's get into the weeds and talk about how to become better at identifying this stuff visually, but also trusting each other if we're on the same crew. This is great stuff. So here we go, another category altogether. So this is going to be back into more of these big men in the middle of the field. This play right here, guys, I think really challenges us. I just think this play really tends to challenge us for whatever reason. And so, look at this play. It's a big play. This is a big play, big game. This is going to be the right tackle number 59. The right tackle number 59 going out into the flat, going to get this guy. And, you talk about chase mode or chase position. What do we normally associate that with? Kicks, right? Kick returns, punt returns, all those kinds of things. But can you have a chase position on this type of a play? Corey, what do you think?
Absolutely. 100% you can. Absolutely. I mean, it's not often you consider an interior lineman as chasing somebody down because they're not going to catch anybody.
Yep.
But you can. I mean, you can have it going up and down, the 50-yard line. If you're going laterally across the field, that can be chase mode. So
here's what we're looking for. And somebody could argue, maybe you're looking at this and say, well, maybe you could interpret this as the defender turning on him at the last second. Because we know that if that indeed happens, that's not a foul, but that's not the case here. This is really the blocker getting beat to the point of attack by this defender. And then the blocker just has no choice that if he's going to contact this man, it's going to be square in the back, so we don't want to confuse Corey. Like, I don't know if we could maybe spell out more of an indicator when the guy turns at the last second, creating contact in the back, but that clearly is not what happens here. This is defender being in great position and the offensive player getting beat.
Absolutely. He beats his man to a spot. I mean, to use the basketball terminology from basketball, he beat the guy to the spot. And for someone to turn the back, you want to see almost, I mean, it doesn't have to be stationary, he can be moving his feet, but he's got to have his shoulders one way, then to the last second, he's moving to another. And this just isn't that case. I agree with you 100%. And, chase mode doesn't have to have a long element of time for it to be present. It can, be chase mode, and then we have contact. He gets into chase mode and for a very split second, but that's enough. And, even without chase mode, it's, square in the back on this.
Exactly.
One, in my opinion. So
really, what we want to see for turned on him is we want to see the block setting up as either a front block or a side block, similar to when we think about a block below the waist, a defender stepping over it, and we don't have to open that huge can of worms. But the same principle, we want to see he's going to block him in the front, in the side, in the side. Oh, wait, he hit him in the back, right? We want to see it being established as a legal block, and then the defender do something at the last second to make it look like an illegal block, which again, I think Brandon's comment that he got beat to the spot that, or I think both you guys said that was a really good, he was trying to get to the point of attack and he got beat there. And that's a really, really good way to conceptualize this, I think.
So this would be a good play. And if you want this play, we can definitely share it, but this would be a good play for mechanics. Just think about line of scrimmage, back edge, potentially deep wing. And we might even bring this play back, next time and break it down more mechanically, because this is just incredible. How do you process all of this? Whether you're from the line of scrimmage, maybe the umpire following this guy out, do you? The back judge swinging around with his vision. And we've talked a lot about that tonight. So I think we're just going to go ahead and leave this play at the difference between a player getting blocked after he turns versus this defender who does just a great job and wins this play. Just unfortunately, we missed this call. So one we would definitely want to look at and find out how to get this mechanically now that we know that why it's a foul, right?
So we can safely say to be continued on this discussion, huh?
To be continued.
What a teaser.
What a teaser. I know it. Okay, and then we got one more play. And Daniel, this is from the request.
What, Brandon?
This is from the request line. Put this play on.
Because we've got a potential OH right here at the 5-yard line, I think is what we really need to.
That's what we really need to talk about. It's look, we've talked a lot about our own I wouldn't even call this an embarrassing moment. Well, maybe it was. You'll talk about it. But we have been transparent with our own errors in judgment or whatever throughout this series. And so when we all saw this, we just had to give you a hard time. And, we look, you're in great position. Why don't you take us through the play?
Well, here's the thing, guys. It was super windy that day. So when the ball gets up there 5 stories in the air, the wind really just plays havoc with it. And through no fault of my own, really, here's the deal. So I'm the back judge on the goal line, right where I'm supposed to be, and the punter viciously attacks me with the ball with no provocation.
Viciously
totally unnecessary. I think we could have gone UNR on the guy. And then the ball hits me in the leg. That's what happened. I don't know how else to say it. I don't know what you're looking for here, but the ball hits me in the leg, and I think he did it on purpose. I just can't prove it. But seriously, if we just talk about it real quick,
yeah,
through a serious context, it was kind of funny. It wasn't super embarrassing, mainly because I was fortunate in that there was really no harm done here, but got a pretty average read off the foot, and it really was windy. And 88, the punt returner, as they often do, genuinely convinced me that he was going to make the catch. Often we see them run up forward farther, and he just didn't do that. I really thought he was going to find the ball at the last second. I see number 1 coming right at me, and I realized, oh, shoot, he must be doing that because he knows where the ball is. Tried to move out of the way, and it hit me. What I will say from an officiating perspective is that I really didn't know if the ball hit in the end zone technically or not. I knew that it was very, very close, and I knew that regardless, this is a touchback, and that's what it was supposed to be. And if it wasn't, it was only because I got in the way and messed it up. So I wasn't going to allow my error create an unfair advantage for one of the teams. So I immediately blew it dead, put a beam back in the end zone, and made it a touchback. So it's easy to make light of it because it was pretty much inconsequential. The play was supposed to be a touchback. But for the record, for any back judges in the audience, as I know we have some, don't get hit with the ball. Get out of the way. So
great advice.
Yeah. You can't get that everywhere.
Now let's talk about what happens if this happens in the field of play.
Right.
Say if you're at the 30-yard line.
Yeah, if it happens in the field of play, you don't want to blow it dead. You just want to go hide in a hole. I don't know. That would be really unfortunate.
Well, no, I just want to bring that up that, just because it hits you, it's still alive. It's a great thing that it hits you with your foot in the purple. I mean, it's awesome that it did that. So, I mean, that punter should have been kicked out of the game, really.
He should have. He should have been disqualified.
Yeah, I mean.
There's no play for a game for that.
Yeah.
And we're on the goal line. You know this, Corey. You can certainly relate. We're in a little bit of a vulnerable position because of these actions, but oftentimes they're far more obvious. But also don't want to minimize how important it is for us as back judges to get a good read off the punter's foot. That's why I never played outfield in Little League, but it's a fine line, right? Because we can't be watching the ball in flight and miss a fair catch signal from the returner, but we want to have a good idea of where it's going before we draw our attention to the returner, and probably just came off the ball a little bit too fast here, and again just got fooled by 88. So certainly a good play to learn from.
I love the little smirk there at the end of that live shot. Somebody's already given it to you, I can tell.
Oh no, that was all me. I was cracking up.
Yeah,
Really.
And
then of course replay reviewed it, so we got to watch it.
Yeah, that's great. So glad that replay got involved. Look, this isn't. I mean, I think some folks may look at this and, oh my gosh, how could he let that happen? What in the world? Who is this guy? What is he doing? It's really not the end of the world. There's really a good reason. You use the wind as an excuse. I don't know. But I mean, you can break it down and understand why this can happen, especially on the goal line when you're kind of planted there with everything compressed on you and all that. I don't know anything about working back judge. But
especially when it's super windy like it was. Did I mention that?
Yeah, I think you said that. And I see that some of us in the chat picked up that massive hold. Yeah, we're aware of that. We could talk about that too, but we've talked enough holding tonight. Just wanted to give Daniel a little chance here to just say, look, this really stuff like this isn't the end of the world. I mean, this is, just roll with it, make it what it is. I think the lesson that I was talking to you about this made it what it is. What's next? Like next play,
Yep.
It's really not that big of a deal. So, what else, guys? That's the last play.
That's good stuff. I mean, to really dive for the umpires out there, I say, man, you're not giving us enough love. Well, you gave me a lot of stuff to chew on tonight. So.
Lots of stuff.
Really, really good stuff tonight.
And it goes into just remember, and I don't know if you guys work plays like I do, where I'm talking to myself through plays. I'm telling, okay, good block, good hands, good feet. I'm telling myself all these truths that I see, but we want to make sure the truths we're telling ourselves are leading us down the right path to get as accurate a decision-making as possible, to add value to the crew and work the game the way it's supposed to be worked. So,
and then when you're in that evaluative and reflective mode, don't allow those truths to convince you did something correct, because that feels better than realizing you didn't do something correct, right? Even if that truth we can loosely apply it, let's not bail ourselves out when we're in that reflective or evaluative place.
Yep. Don't miss an opportunity to have growth as an official through your own self-evaluation.
Amen. It's like Daniel visually transition. It's like, you're supposed to transition on plays and things like that. I was off that, and so you're telling yourself you were good for being off of what turns into the only block that happens on the play. No, I was off that because I'm supposed to visually transition, and maybe you are, but that's just one of those truths that you're telling that maybe weren't as relevant to working that play with accuracy as we maybe needed in that specific play. So we could go into further detail on that, but I don't think we need to.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Happy
Thanks
Thanksgiving,
everybody, for attending. We'll be right back with more plays next Tuesday, huh?
Yeah, it's getting down to the end of the season, right? So
That's
things
right.
are highly, highly important coming up.
All right, everybody, take care. Thank you very much.
All right, guys, have a great night. Take care. Good
Be
week.
good.